Dangerous. In the Pro Stock, there's Patriot, Steel Lightning, Godspeed, Insanity, Ocean Outboard, High Risk, and Jaws. In the Super Stock, Hot and Nasty, Ballistic, Courageous, Feeling Wet, Extreme Descent of Chevy, Terminator, Topaz, How Sweet It Is. In Sport, Rock Solid, Fever, Burning Desire, Ken's Oil, BP Pegasus Offshore Express, Instigator, Rapid Transit, Shockwave, Parts. All right, we're over the milling area, as you can see now. The weather is somewhat cloudy and gloomy, and the water is a little bumpy in spots. Should make us for some very competitive racing. There's the Virginia Beach skyline in the background. As far as the number of laps and the course is concerned, in Production A, Sport B, and Super Sport, 5 laps for a total of 71 miles. In Modified C and Pro Stock, 7 laps for a total of 99.4 miles. And in the Offshore, Open, and Super, a total of 8 laps for 113.6 miles. We are now aboard How Sweet It Is, where we've got our onboard camera. How Sweet It Is, by the way, took first last week in New Orleans. It was their first checkered flag in D class. We have there's our helicopter. There's our helicopter in the background. As you just saw, our pilot is Tom McCready from Helicopter Transport. I was going to say that we have 3 onboard cameras today, and here's our second aboard Wits End, the current point leader in C class, and there you see the hands of driver Bobby Whitco. Wits End had a great race against Armed and Dangerous 2 weeks ago in Detroit. Wits End came in first, Armed and Dangerous in second in C class. Let's look at some of the other competition. Mr. Goodwrench, Foster's Blue Thunder, and Riddler, those are the other competitors in C class. Once again, you're looking at Wits End right now in the hands of Mr. Bobby Whitco, the driver of Wits End. Our third onboard camera is aboard Steel Lightning, and there it is. We're also able to patch into the intercom system, listen to the pre-race conversation between Al Wagner and Al Steele.
Hallelujah. Yes. They got smoke yet? I can't quite see it. NXS is falling behind us, so. Okay. Yeah, there's smoke now. Okay, they'll start lining this up.
Yeah, race control all units on 78 Alpha. All units on 78A, we have smoke. We'll have a short start very shortly.
Yeah, we should be just about in the right position here. Yeah.
In that conversation, you also heard the voice of Tony Milia from U.S. Offshore Communications doing a fine job coordinating this race. And there you can see we're over the milling area. There's the orange smoke that Alan was talking about. That is the 2-minute signal. We're just a few minutes away from the beginning of this 1993 $75,000 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. We're going with the first start today of this race, and that will include the Super, the Open, the Modified, and the Pro Stock. And that really amounts to about half the field of the race today, so it should be a pretty exciting start here to this 1993 Virginia Beach Grand Prix. There's Arasaki and Ocean Outboard. Ocean Outboard has entered 3 races this year and has won 3 races. Gifford Marine, the point leader in its class. And there is the Virginia Beach skyline in the background. And there, of course, you also see the beach. Great place to watch this race, either from one of your hotel rooms or right on the beach or one of the spectator boats. Ideal place for an event of this kind. And there now we begin to see the boats getting into a lining up position. Hustler Powerboats is supplying the pace boat for this race, and there you see now the boats are maneuvering, lining up, and as we see them line up, we've got Patriot, How Sweet It Is, and Ocean Outboard. We've got a yellow flag right now, just a few moments away from the beginning of this race. Patriot, How Sweet It Is, and Ocean Outboard lining up at the very beginning here, just a few moments away. And now we have a green flag. The 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix has begun, and we've got Patriot, How Sweet It Is, and Ocean Outboard. And now as we look, we see How Sweet It Is taking the immediate lead, with Patriot and Ocean Outboard behind. Now looking back on the field, we've got Mr. Goodwrench, Jaws, Insanity, BFI Systems, Predator, Team Jaguar, and Ocean Outboard. And now we move back up to the leaders. We've got How Sweet It Is, Patriot, and of course Ocean Outboard. As we go on board now, How Sweet It Is, you see How Sweet It Is pulling away from Patriot and Ocean Outboard on the left. How Sweet It Is. Aboard How Sweet It Is, Jim McIntyre, the driver, driving for the first time. Throttle man Terry Ayers from St. Louis, Missouri. How Sweet It Is, the current leader right now in the early moments of this 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. There's Patriot and Ocean Outboard on the left side of the picture. How Sweet It Is pulling away. It's How Sweet It Is, Patriot and Ocean Outboard. Here's How Sweet It Is in front with Patriot on the inside, the leader in P class. How Sweet It Is right now, the current leader in the early moments of this race. How Sweet It Is. Here's Team Jaguar on the inside and Ocean Outboard on the outside in open class now. Coming up on How Sweet It Is. There you see How Sweet It Is in the middle. Team Jaguar and Ocean Outboard now coming up close and passing How Sweet It Is in D class. Once again, we're on board now, How Sweet It Is, and there you see Team Jaguar on the left and Ocean Outboard on the right in open class as they are now coming close to How Sweet It Is and passing How Sweet It Is in D class. Of course, Team Jaguar and Ocean Outboard are in open. There's the current leader in D class, How Sweet It Is 2. How Sweet It Is 2 is a 32-foot skater powered by two 600-horsepower MRD inboards with Merc Cruiser drives. There's our freeze-frame helicopter in the background, Mr. Tom McCready from Helicopter Transport. The owner of How Sweet It Is 2, Mr. Carl Myers from Canada's New York. The driver, driving for the first time, Jim McIntyre from East Yaphank, New York. The throttle man, Terry Ayers from St. Louis, Missouri. How Sweet It Is 2, the current leader in D class. Some previous finishes include first place in Long Beach, California with an average speed of 79.81 miles per hour. First place in San Diego at 89.35 miles per hour. A first place in Lake Peoria. First place in Montauk with an average speed of 87.73. And a second place in United Grocers in D class. And a first place in New Orleans. That was the first time that it took a checkered flag for the APBA in M class. How Sweet It Is 2, the current leader in D class. Some of How Sweet It Is 2 sponsors include Sweeteners Plus and Reebok. Just listen to those two 600-horse-powered MRD inboards. How Sweet It Is 2 in first place in D class. The current leader in open class is Gifford Racing. Gifford Racing is a 40-foot Jaguar powered by two 850-horsepowered inboards with number 6 drives. The driver is Bill Gifford. At the throttle, Rich Dancision from Toms River, New Jersey. Bill is from Egg Harbor, New Jersey. Gifford Racing took third place in Montauk with an average speed of 92.48 miles per hour. First place in Erie, Pennsylvania. Fifth place in Point Pleasant, and a third place in Detroit. Currently, it is third in Northeast Point standings, first nationally, and first in the Central Division. You're looking at Gifford Racing, currently number 1 in open class. Some of Gifford Racing crew members include Steve Silagi, Jerry Followine, Joe Halbrunner, Mike Burke, Sue Gifford, and Bill Gifford Jr. Sponsors Bell Atlantic and Sunoco Racing Fuels. Gifford Racing, number 1 in open class. Once again, these are the early moments of the 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix, coming to you from Virginia Beach, Virginia. You're watching Gifford Racing, right now the leader in open class. Also number 1 nationally, Gifford Racing. Number 2 is Team Jaguar, and 3 Ocean Outboard in open class. Gifford Racing. There's the leader in super class, In Excess. And there you see Gifford Racing there, the leader in open class out front. But In Excess is a 47-foot fountain powered by 3 1,000 horsepower Mercury inboards with Merc Cruiser drives. The driver, Ted Savarese from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Throttle man, Tress Martin from Fort Lauderdale. And also the navigator, Rick Savarese from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. In Excess took first place in San Diego with an average speed of 98.08 miles per hour. A first in Long Beach with an average speed of 87.40 miles per hour. And is right now the national champion in its class for the APBA. It also took first place in Atlantic City, a first in Sarasota, first in Marathon, a second in Texas. As you can see, it's won just about every race that it's entered for this 1993 season. You're watching In Excess, the leader in Superclass. Just listen to Throttleman Tress Martin and those three 1,000 horsepower Mercury inboards. We guarantee that the In Excess race team is always right on course. The water's a little bit bumpy today, there as you can see. In Excess, the leader in Superclass. 75 Ocean Outboard with the Virginia Beach skyline in the background. Some of the other competition in open class with Ocean Outboard are Arasaki, Team Jaguar, and Gifford Racing. Now, Ocean Outboard is a 40-foot skater powered by two 800-horsepower Mercury inboards with Mercruiser drives. The owner, Mr. Ernie Deladon from Wilmington, Delaware. Driver, Russ Wilkin from Bluffton, Indiana. At the throttle, Anthony Caligari from Merrick, New York. Ocean Outboard took first in Montauk, a first in Point Pleasant, and a first in Detroit. It has won every race it's entered this year. Ocean Outboard currently right now in third place in the national point standings and first in the Northeast. Ocean Outboard Racing Team would like to thank Mr. Andrew Engel, the crew chief. Also, Tony Caligari, who the throttle man of Ocean Outboard, is the owner of Ocean Outboard in Merrick, New York. Ocean Outboard is a Mercury dealer and also a dealer for Mercury High Performance products. Ocean Outboard. Now as we go around the turn, there's In Excess. In Excess, of course, is the leader in Superclass. There's Ocean Outboard. Once again, In Excess, the leader in Superclass. Just listen to those three 1,000 horsepower Mercury inboards. Look at that jump. Beautiful. Throttleman Tress Martin and the rest of the In Excess racing team doing an excellent job. You're looking at In Excess, your 1993 National APBA champion. From In Excess to Ocean Outboard. Ocean Outboard, a 40-foot skater. There's In Excess, and back to Ocean Outboard. Once again, Ocean Outboard is a 40-foot skater running in open class. Russ Wilkin, driver, and throttle man Tony Caligari from Merritt, New York, doing a fine job with Ocean Outboard here at this 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. They've only entered 3 races this year, but they've won every one. Third in the national point standings, first in the Northeast. By the way, Tony Caligari's Ocean Outboard in Merrick, New York, also is a dealer for Skater, Superboat, Formula, and Fountain Boats. Ocean Outboard owner Ernie Deladon should be proud of his crew. Russ Wilkin and Tony Caligari doing a fine job with Ocean Outboard here at this race. Let's listen to those two 800 horsepower Mercury inboards. With a beautiful jump is Armed and Dangerous, the leader in C-Class. Armed and Dangerous, a 32-foot Mirage powered by two 650-horsepower dual racing engines with Mercruiser drives. The driver is Mr. Tom Corsi from Plainview, New York. At the throttle is John Domino from Babylon, New York. Eric Hoffman from Eastport, New York is the navigator. The Armed and Dangerous racing team would like to thank a number of people, including the Zool Racing Engines from West Babylon, Matt from Amsoil, Barbara and Jack from Panorama Signs, and Custom Auto Marine from Babylon, New York, and S&S Propeller. Also, a special thanks to the Virginia Beach Police Department and Police Chief Charlie Wall. Armed and Dangerous, currently #1 in C-Class. Mr. Al Hoffman, the owner of Armed and Dangerous, is very proud of the way his crew has been doing this year. They took a first place in Barnegat Bay and a second place in Quake on the Lake. And right now, Armed and Dangerous is #1 in C-Class. Just listen to those two 650-horsepower Zool racing engines. Crew members Tom Corsi, Eric Hoffman, and John Domino. Armed and Dangerous running right with the P-boats. Now we come up to some P-boat competition. On the inside, we have Patriot. On the outside, Steel Lightning. Patriot is a 35-foot motion powered by three 2.5 EFIs. The driver is Lisa Greger from Orlando, Florida. Throttle Bob Hamlin from Huntersville, North Carolina. Patriot took fourth place at the East-West Powerboat Shootout in Corpus Christi, Texas earlier this year. A third at Fort Apache, a third at Atlantic City, a first at Erie, Pennsylvania, a fourth in Sarasota, and a fourth in New Orleans. Right now it is second in the point standings for the APBA for this season, fourth nationally and fifth in the Northeast point standings, and second in the Central point standings. You're looking at Patriot P7. The Patriot crew chief is Mike Belgium, sometimes known as Beljar. Those three 2.5 EFIs are built by Diamond Marine out of Farmingdale, New York. The Patriot Racing Team sponsor, Environmental Source Samplers. There is Steel Lightning on the outside and Patriot on the inside. The Patriot Racing Team would like to thank the Best Western Ocean Front for accommodations in Virginia Beach. You're looking at the Patriot Race Team on the inside, Steel Lightning on the outside. Some pretty good P competition here. Some of the other boats in P class competing today include Godspeed, Insanity, Ocean Outboard, High Risk, and Jaws. Right now it's a duel here between Patriot and Steel Lightning. This is the 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. There's Steel Lightning on the outside. You see how little space there is really between these two boats. Some very good competition going on here between Steel Lightning and Patriot. There's Armed and Dangerous there on the outside. Of course, there's the Virginia Beach skyline in the background. There you see how close these two boats are. Steel Lightning, Armed and Dangerous, and there you've got Patriot there on the left. There's Steel Lightning. And there's Patriot going by, trying to catch up to Steel Lightning. It's Steel Lightning and Patriot fighting for the lead here in P class. Steel Lightning on the outside and Patriot on the inside. Patriot now is the current leader in P class, with Steel Lightning in second place. There's Armed and Dangerous in first place in C class and doing a wonderful job running here with the P boats. There's Steel Lightning and Armed and Dangerous. And of course the Virginia Beach skyline in the background. Many people having that beautiful vantage point of the beach watching this race. Armed and Dangerous currently #1 in C class. There's Steel Lightning in second place in P class. Steel Lightning is a 32-foot skater powered by three 2.5 EFIs. The driver, Alan Steele from Jacksonville, Florida. At the throttle, Alan Wagner from Orlando, Florida. Steel Lightning took 5th place at the East-West Powerboat Shootout, a 2nd in Atlantic City, and currently is in 4th place in the national point standings for the APBA. It also took 4th in Sarasota, a 3rd in Marathon, and a 2nd in Detroit, and a 2nd in New Orleans. Steel Lightning, currently number 2 in P class. Steel Lightning was the 1992 Pro Outboard World Champion. Some of the other competition in P class include, of course, Patriot, Godspeed, Insanity, Ocean Outboard, High Risk, and Jaws. There are those 3 2.5 EFIs. Steel Lightning. The Steel Lightning Racing Team would like to thank Interstate Battery and Mercury Marine, also 2 crew members, Phil and Bill, and also the Clarion Hotel right here on the ocean for their accommodations. The Clarion, by the way, of course, is the race headquarters for this 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Just a great facility, great place to have a meeting or a conference or whatever. It has it all. The Clarion Hotel. Right now you're watching Steel Lightning, currently in 2nd place in P class. Currently in 3rd place in P class behind Steel Lightning and Patriot is Insanity, P24. Insanity is a 30-foot Shadow Cat powered by 3 250 horsepower Mercury outboards. The crew is a family affair. The news. We've got driver Jason New from Staten Island, New York. Throttleman Chuck New, also from Staten Island, and of course navigator Tony New from Staten Island. Insanity won 4th place in Montauk earlier this year, took a 2nd in Newburyport, a 1st in Point Pleasant, a 1st at Kent Narrows, and a 4th at Barnegat Bay. The Insanity Racing Team would like to thank Cody Marine, Richie from Cody Marine, and Ralph from Pro Rock Marine in New Jersey. Ralph maintains Insanity. Insanity right now is 3rd in national points and 2nd in Northeast Divisional points. Insanity currently 3rd in B class behind Steel Lightning and Patriot. Nice job there by Throttleman Chuck New. The Insanity race team sounding and looking excellent. We wish the Insanity Racing Team the very best of luck for the remainder of this race and the remainder of the 1993 season. Insanity Race Team. Currently 3rd in factory class is Spoiled Banana. Spoiled Banana is a 24-foot banana boat powered by 1 300-horsepower OMC outboard. There's Insanity going by on the outside. Insanity, of course, is in 3rd place in P class. Insanity. As for Spoiled Banana, as we said, it's in 3rd place in factory class. And the driver owner is James Brown from North Falmouth, Massachusetts. Navigator is Ken Crane also from North Falmouth, Massachusetts. Sponsors are Cisco's Pizza and Torco Racing Oil. They're 1st in the Northeast standings, 1st in the National, and 2nd in the Central. There's High Risk on the outside, currently running in 4th place in P class. High Risk on the outside. The 32-foot skater is powered by 3 2.5 EFIs. The owner throttleman is Rick Felsen from Great Neck, New York. Driver Mike Nicholson from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. High Risk took a 1st place in Montauk, a 2nd in Erie, Pennsylvania, a 3rd in Point Pleasant, and a 3rd in Detroit. And currently it is number 1 in the national point standings. High Risk currently running in 4th place in P class. Other competitors in P class include Patriot, Steel Lightning, Godspeed, Insanity, Ocean Outboard, and Jaws. Just listen to those three 2.5 EFIs. Rick Felson and Mike Nicholson doing a fine job aboard High Risk P-71. This is the 1993 $75,000 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. Coming to you from Virginia Beach, Virginia. The fifth and final national race for the U.S. Offshore Racing Association. In Sport Class, Rapid Transit B44. Rapid Transit is a 30-foot formula powered by two 550-horsepower Chevy engines with Mercruiser drives. The driver, Patrick Downey from Ellsworth, Maine. At the throttle, Stephen Downey, also from Ellsworth. Rapid Transit took second place in Kent Narrows. Rapid Transit in Sport Class B44. Some of the other competition in Sport Class include Rock Solid, Fever, Burning Desire, Ken's Oil, Instigator, BP Pegasus, Shockwave, Parts Plus, and IROC. Right now you're looking at Rapid Transit in Sport Class. Currently in second place in D classes, Eastern Express. Eastern Express is a 32-foot skater powered by two 700-horsepower Chevy engines with Mercruiser drives. The owner-driver, Joe Bershami from St. Clair Shores, Michigan. The automan is Robert Carrick from Algonac, Michigan. Eastern Express took first place in Lake Peoria, first place in Montauk with an average speed of 85.98 miles per hour, first place in Erie, Pennsylvania. Second in Point Pleasant, so really won every race that it entered except Point Pleasant, and currently it is first in the national point standings and is also first in the Great Lakes Trophy Series. Right now, Eastern Express is running second in D class here at this 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. And there are the hotels along Virginia Beach. Great place to watch a race. I can just imagine all the people up there with binoculars watching this thing. Just listen to those two 700-horsepower Chevy engines. Some of the other competition in D class includes Predator, Molly's Black Gold, BFI Systems, How Sweet It Is Too, which is currently in first place, Pipeline Express, and Bounty Hunter. Eastern Express right now currently in second place. They've really had a picture-perfect year, winning almost every race that they've entered. Eastern Express. There's the Virginia Beach skyline in the background. There's Nasty Habit there on the outside, currently running in first place in factory class, as Eastern Express goes by Nasty Habit in F class. Once again, we want to mention this is the fifth national and final national race for U.S. Offshore for 1993, which means that right after this race, we will be announcing the national champions. And Eastern Express will be one of those national champions as it leads and is in first place in the national standings in Offshore D with 1,577 points. Former national and world champions, the Pipeline Express racing team, currently in third place in D class, D41. Pipeline Express is a 30-foot Shadow Cat powered by two 600-horsepower Bandit inboards with Mercruiser drives. The driver, Phil Crawford from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Throttle man, Stanley Moore, also from Point Pleasant. Pipeline Express currently in third place in D class. By the way, Mr. Bob Shug from West Point, New Jersey, is the owner of Pipeline Express. Some of the other competitors in D class include Predator, Molly's Black Gold, Eastern Express, which is currently in second place, BFI Systems, outsweeted as 2, right now the leader, Pipeline Express in third, and Bounty Hunter. Stanley Moore, throttle man, doing a fine job aboard Pipeline Express. Just listen to those two 600 horsepower Bandit inboards. Pipeline Express. This is the only second race for Pipeline Express this year. Their Pipeline Express goes by Nasty Habit, which is the leader in factory class. As we said, this is their only second race. They led all the way in Barnegat Bay, New Jersey, but had a problem. So Pipeline Express is just vying to make a very good showing here at this 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix, and not really competing for any national or any point standings. But right now it's doing very well. It is currently in third place in D class. Pipeline Express. Here's an update in open class. Leading is Ocean Outboard, followed by Gifford Racing, and Team Jaguar in Superboat in excess is the leader in that class. But right now you're watching Pipeline Express, currently in third place in D class. This is the 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. Great place for an event. Dominating the entire B class is the Fever Racing Team. There is Fever, B6, comes up on us here. B6, Fever is a 28-foot Meta, powered by two 550 horsepower Zool racing engines with Mercruiser drives. Aboard Fever, driver Joe Scrow from Belmore, New York, throttleman Joe Latona from Merrick, New York, and navigator Jeff Cropper from Dix Hills, New York. The Fever Racing Team would like to thank S&S Propeller, Richie Zool for the motors, Al Grover Marine from Freeport, New York, Big Apple Cafe from Dallas, Texas. By the way, the Fever Racing Team is the holder of the kilo record at 91.9 miles per hour, and they are two-time former world champions. Fever took a first place in Montauk earlier this year with an average speed of 81.01 miles per hour. Currently, they are in fourth place in the national point standings and in third place in the Northeast point standings. B6, Fever dominating B class, currently in first place. The Fever Race Team doing an excellent job in B class. But right behind them is Rock Solid and Shockwave. Some of the other boats in B class include Rapid Transit, Parts Plus, Instigator, and Burning Desire. There's Fever Racing Team with Joe Scrow, Joe Latona, and Jeff Cropper doing a fine job. Just listen to those Zool power plants. The Fever Racing Team looks real comfortable. There's Pipeline Express on the outside in third place in D class. Of course, Fever is in B. Right alongside there and now passing Pipeline Express. Fever, the leader in B class. The Fever Racing Team. Fever on the inside, Pipeline Express in D class on the outside. Running comfortably in second place in B class, Rock Solid. Rock Solid is a 33-foot fountain powered by two 600-horsepower Troy Dennis engines with Mercruiser drives. The owner, Throttleman Art Lilly from Millersville, Maryland. The driver, Alan Borum from West River, Maryland. Navigator Chris O'Donnell from Millersville. Rock Solid is currently in first place in the Great Lakes Trophy Series, having won at Lake Peoria, Detroit, Erie, and Port Huron. It took third place at the East-West Powerboat Shootout earlier this year with an average speed of 72.29 miles per hour. It also took first place in Atlantic City, a second in New Orleans, and right now is second in the national point standings in the APBA. Rock Solid. Also running second in this race, there's A28 Pantera on the outside in production class. The Santa Chevy on the inside seems to be powered down somewhat. Now, if the Santa Chevy does continue to run, we believe it will be the national champion in Superstock class. We're back on Rock Solid, 33-foot fountain. Currently in second place in B class. Once again aboard Rock Solid, we've got Mr. Art Lilly, who's the owner, Throttleman, and the driver is Alan Borum, and navigator is Chris O'Donnell, all doing a fine job aboard Rock Solid, comfortably in second place in B class. And there's Virginia Beach. Great place to watch a race from the beach or from your hotel balcony. Either way. There are those Mercruiser drives. Rock Solid right on course. B1 in second place in B class. As the boats are coming around the turn, there's Gifford Racing out in front, followed by Foster's Blue Thunder and RC Marine with Team Jaguar on the outside. Now here's another vantage point. We see to the right of our picture Foster's Blue Thunder, followed by RC Marine. Gifford Racing is second in open class. There's Foster's Blue Thunder, a 32-foot offshore concept. And there's Team Jaguar there on the inside, currently in third place in open class. Gary Pearson, the driver of Team Jaguar. There's Foster's Blue Thunder on the outside. Giving a great performance is the 32-foot offshore concept Foster's Blue Thunder C5. Foster's Blue Thunder is powered by three 300-horsepower Evinrude outboards. The driver is Stephen Bandoyan from Winchester, Massachusetts. Rattleman Ed Morris from Salem, Massachusetts. Navigator Joe Story from Newbury, Massachusetts. Foster's Blue Thunder took fourth place in Montauk, fourth place in Erie, a first at Newburyport, a third at Point Pleasant, first in Kent Narrows, and a second in Barnegat Bay, New Jersey. Currently, they are in third place in the national point standings and first in the Northeast. The sponsor of Foster's Blue Thunder is Foster's Beer, Blue Thunder from Down Under. Currently running in third place and open is Team Jaguar. Team Jaguar is a 35-foot Jaguar powered by two 800-horsepower Mercury engines with Mercruiser drives. The driver is Gary Pearson from Westfield, New Jersey. Throttleman Jack Clark from Pembroke, Florida. There's Gifford Racing there on the outside, currently in second place in open class. And there is Foster's Blue Thunder with RC Marine in production class just behind there, with How Sweet It Is Too, the leader in D class. The Foster's Blue Thunder racing team would like to thank their sponsors, who include US 1 Auto Marine in Newbury, Massachusetts, and Russo Marine in Medford, Massachusetts, Boston's #1 dealer. There's How Sweet It Is Too on the outside, currently in first place in D class. Foster's Blue Thunder just coming by there on the inside. There's how sweet it is, too, as we mentioned. And, of course, the Virginia Beach skyline in the background. Just very, very close there to the beach. A great place to watch the race from that vantage point. Currently in first place in production class is RC Marine. RC Marine is a 30-foot superboat powered by two 385-horsepower dual racing engines with Mercruiser drives. The driver is Steve Abbott from Laurel Hollow, New York. Throttleman RC from West Islip. And navigator is Steve Sokolich from Astoria, New York. RC Marine currently in first place in production class. RC Marine has won just about every race it's entered. It is first in the national point standings and first in the Northeast point standings. Has a great history, RC Marine. In 89, 90, 91, and 92, they were the Northeast Divisional champs. 89, 90, 91, the North American champions. They were the winner of the 1991 Florida's Governor's Cup. And in 1992, they were the national champions. There's Foster's Blue Thunder on the outside. And this year, they will also be the 1993 national champions. The racing team would like to thank Skip and Jimmy Buck from MRD, Richie Zool, Bill and Curtis from Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, and navigator Steve Sokolich for the late nights he spent helping to prepare the boat for the race. Matt Koenig from Amsoil. Special thanks to Tina for driving the truck and trailer to and from the race. And a very special thanks to Bruce Thompson and Anna Pulley from the Tropicana Resort Hotel in Virginia Beach for sponsoring the RC Marine race team for this race. Currently, number one in production class, RC Marine. There's Gifford Racing out in front, followed by Team Jaguar there in the middle, and RC Marine, of course, here on the inside. Team Jaguar driver is Gary Pearson, who's also the president of U.S. Offshore Racing Association, and we'd like to extend our sincerest congratulations to Gary and the rest of the U.S. Offshore staff for putting together a tremendous and successful racing package for this 1993 season. And, of course, at Freeze Frame Video, we just want to say that we are very proud of being part of this. RC Marine on the inside, the current leader in production class. RC Marine. This is the 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix from Virginia Beach, Virginia. This is the fifth and final national race for the U.S. Offshore Racing Association. There's Gifford Racing out in front there with, of course, RC Marine on the inside. Gifford Racing is second in open class, but first in the national point standings. Team Jaguar coming up there right now is running third in open class, but is second in the national point standings at this point. Now as we look back on the field, there's Spoiled Banana in factory class and Feelin' Wet in super stock. Feelin' Wet is currently running in third place in S class. In first place in S class is Terminator with Hot and Nasty coming up second. Other competition there includes Ballistic and Topaz in super stock. Feelin' Wet currently running in third place in S class. Feelin' Wet S9, a 30-foot Cobra. Now as we come upon Feelin' Wet, once again it is a 30-foot Cobra powered by two 2.5 EFIs. The driver Gary Riccio from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Throttleman Brian Riccio also from Point Pleasant. Feelin' Wet took fifth place in Point Pleasant, a second in Lake Erie, third place in Quake on the Lake, sixth place in Barnegat Bay, and third at Kent Narrows. It is currently in fourth place in the national point standings and fifth in the Northeast Divisional standings. The Feelin' Wet racing team would like to thank a number of its sponsors, who include TSE Motor Cars of Toms River, New Jersey, which is a dealer of Mercedes-Benz, Saab, Volkswagen, and Porsche. Also the White Sands Motel from Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey, Bob's Auto Repair, Point Pleasant, and NAD, which is the National Automobilers Exchange in Bordentown, New Jersey. There's Team Jaguar on the outside and currently running in third place in open class. And, of course, Feelin' Wet with Gary Riccio and Brian Riccio doing a fine job aboard Feelin' Wet S9. Currently in third place in S class. A14 Full Throttle Race Team. This is a 29-foot progression powered by two 420-horsepower Bandit racing engines built by Kurtz Marine. This boat is throttled by Tony Recchia and driven and owned by Richard Calabrese. Full Throttle Race Team would like to thank their sponsors: Ajax Automotive, Voices Rock and Roll Band, Progression Industries, Vince Marine, and Precision Concrete Pouring Inc. Also special thanks to Kurtz Marine and his men for all their help. This is Full Throttle's second race for the 1993 season, and this will be a boat to look for in the upcoming 1994 season. Full Throttle is seeking major sponsorship at this time. You're looking at A14 Full Throttle. As we mentioned, this is the final and fifth national race of U.S. Offshore for the season. So right after this race, we will be giving you a tally not only on the winners of this race, but also the national champions. Currently running in second place in factory class F22, Hyperactive. Hyperactive is a 21-foot activator powered by one 2.4 EFI. The driver, Bill Scudder from Freeport, New York. Throttleman Ronald Rossi, also from Freeport. Bill Scudder is not only the driver, but also the owner. Hyperactive took third place in Montauk, a first place in Point Pleasant, and a first place in Barnegat Bay, New Jersey. Currently in second place in the Northeast Point standings and fourth in the national standings. Hyperactive, F22, nice jump. Hyperactive. There's the Santa shoving the outside in S-Class. It's still running, but it's somewhat down. The Hyperactive Racing Team would like to thank everyone over at Ocean Outboard, with special thanks to Ed Riley. Also the crew members, including Phil, the crew chief, Little Bill, Kelsey, Cindy, and Kathy. There's Ballistic S4 on the outside. Hyperactive currently having a great race, running in second place in factory class. Hyperactive F22. There's Insanity on the outside, moving up in P class. Of course, the crew of Insanity is the New family. Chuck, Tony, and Jason New aboard Insanity, P24 in Pro Stock. Moving up in P class. S4 Ballistic. Ballistic is a 26-foot express powered by two 250-horsepower Mercury outboards. The driver, Demby Set from Manassas, Virginia. The owner and throttleman is James Set, also from Manassas. S4 Ballistic. Ballistic is competing in S-Class along with Terminator, Hot and Nasty, Feelin' Wet, and Topaz, and also Courageous. You're watching the Ballistic Race Team. Jim and Demby Said from Manassas, Virginia, doing a fine job aboard Ballistic. There's Insanity on the inside, moving up, passing Ballistic and continuing to move up in P class. Insanity. The News from New Jersey. Ballistic currently running in fourth place in S-Class. Nice jump. Good job by Jim and Demby Set from Manassas, Virginia. Ballistic is slowing down a bit, but seems to be having no problem. Currently in second place in C-Class, Wits End. A 32-foot skater powered by two 550-horsepower Saris engines with Mercruiser drives. The driver, Robert Whitko from Albany, New York. Throttleman Jim DeNuyer from Ballston Spa, New York. Whitsend has won just about every race it's entered this year, with the exception of Montauk, where it took second place. It took first place in Erie, first place in Point Pleasant, and first in Detroit. They are currently in first place in the national point standings. Here we are on board now, Whitsend. This is what it looked like earlier today at the beginning of this 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. And there's Whitsend and Bobby Whitko, the driver, doing a fine job there at the wheel. This was just moments before we got the green flag earlier in this race. As you can see, all the boats are lining up, picking up speed. The motors are revving, maneuvering into position. And we have the green flag now. There you see Predator on the outside, splashing here, splashing in front of Whitsend and getting a little bit of that. And Bobby Whitko doing a fine job there at the wheel. The very, very beginning of this race, this 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. Just listen to those engines. There's Bobby Whitko at the wheel, maneuvering, doing a fine job in the early moments right after the green flag. Whitsend, as we said, is the national leader in point standings. Also is second in the Northeast divisional points and fourth in the Central Division. The Whitsend racing team would like to thank Vern French and also Terry for all her help. Armed and Dangerous is leading in C-Class. Whitsend is currently in second place. Other competitors, well, actually Riddler, Foster's Blue Thunder, and Mr. Goodwrench have retired from the race. Whitsend currently in second place in C-Class. Virginia Beach in the background. Great location for a race. Just listen to the throttle man, Jim Denuyer, from Ballston Spa, New York. There you see a little bit of the skill that it really takes to handle one of these big boats. Whitsend is rigged and maintained by Performance Marine in Lake George, New York. Once again, that's Bobby Whitko at the wheel. Bobby is also the owner of Whitsend. Whitsend currently in second place in C-Class. We can assure you that Whitsend will be the 1993 national champions in their class. They're so far ahead in points that really it is impossible for any other competitor to catch up to them. Once again, we will have the listing of all the national champions after this race, this being the final and fifth national race for the U.S. Offshore Racing Association. As we ride along with the Whitsend racing team, with benefit of our onboard camera, we just want to wish the Whitsend racing team the very best of luck in this race and also for the rest of the 1993 season. So sit back and enjoy. A9 wide open. Wide open is a 27-foot Cobra powered by one 650 horsepower Mercury engine with Mercruiser drive. The driver Mike Scarpa from Jersey City, New Jersey. Throttleman Mark Pica from Jersey City, New Jersey. Mark, by the way, is also the owner of Wide Open. Wide Open took third place in Montauk, first at Kent Narrows, seventh in Point Pleasant, fourth in Detroit, and is also a sixth place in Erie, and is currently third in the Northeast Point standings and third in the national standings. There's InXS in the Superboat class in first place, going on the outside, going by Wide Open. As we were saying, Wide Open is third in the national point standings. The Wide Open Racing Team would like to thank Pica's Auto Service, Rogers Speed Shop, Rich Decision, JC Auto and Truck Parts, S&S Propeller, Wayne Witkowski, and special thanks to all the crew members and to Gina and Kathy. Wide Open, A9, currently in third place in the national point standings. Wide Open Racing Team. The weather really cooperated today for this race. I mean, even though it was cloudy and gloomy, the waters were not that choppy, though a little bumpy in spots, but not bad. Good for competition, highly competitive water conditions. Just about right. Wide Open in production class. Wide Open crew members Mike Scarpa and Mark Pica from Jersey City, New Jersey, doing a fine job. Currently in third place in production class, Dirty Dancer. Dirty Dancer is a 25-foot check made powered by one 600 horsepower Chevy inboard with a Mercruiser drive. The driver Bob Knopfnagel from Rochester, New York. Throttleman Tom Judd, also from Rochester. Dirty Dancer took second place in Point Pleasant, a first in Newburyport, fourth in Montauk, and a second in Kent Narrows. Currently, it is second in the Northeast Divisional standings and fourth in the national standings. Dirty Dancer. In factory class F5, W&P Associates, a 24-foot Sonic powered by one 420 horsepower Mercury engine with a Mercruiser drive. The driver Walter Pipsack from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. The owner Throttleman Scott Hold'em from Brick, New Jersey. W&P Associates F5 factory class. Other competitors in factory: Nasty Habit, Hyperactive, and Spoiled Banana. But you're watching W&P Associates. Walter Pipsack and Scott Hold'em doing a fine job aboard W&P. Nice job on the throttle by Scott Hold'em there. Just listen. Walter Pipsack and Scott Hold'em there doing a fine job. Walter driving, Scott Hold'em at the throttle. Little action there with W&P Associates, but both Walter and Scott have it under control. Doing a fine job. There's W&P Associates on the outside, and how sweet it is, too, on the inside. The leader in D class. How sweet it is, too. How sweet it is, too, took the immediate lead at the very beginning of this race and continues to lead in D class. How sweet it is, too, has led in its class really this whole entire race, doing an excellent job. Aboard How Sweet It Is, too, and we go on board now, the benefit of our onboard camera. On board How Sweet It Is, too, we have Jim McIntyre, who is the driver. Terry Ayers is the throttle man. Terry is from St. Louis, Missouri. Carl Myers from Canada's New York is the owner of How Sweet It Is, too. There's our helicopter in the background with Mr. Tom McCready, the helicopter pilot. He's from Helicopter Transport out of Norfolk, Virginia. Also aboard a helicopter, Jeff Girardi and Gary Johnson. There's the shot from our onboard camera, which is on the bow of How Sweet It Is, too, a 32-foot skater powered by two 600-horsepower MRD inboards with Mercruiser drives. Once again, Jim McIntyre and Terry Ayers aboard, doing a fine job, have led the whole race. They are currently in first place in D class. How Sweet It Is, too, running excellent at this 1993 Virginia Beach Offshore Grand Prix. How Sweet It Is, too, currently in fourth place in national points. And if you look at our bow, or look at How Sweet It Is, too's bow, you'll see our camera, which has been mounted on the bow. A little tiny camera giving us tremendous pictures. There, as we move a little closer, you can see that little thing sticking up there from the bow. Well, that's our camera. That's our onboard camera. Amazing technology. How Sweet It Is, too, is also a user of AMSOIL products. How Sweet It Is, too, leading in D class. Some of the other competition, Eastern Express, Pipeline Express, but most of these boats now in Offshore D have really retired. And How Sweet It Is, too, really dominated D class for this entire race. There's Wits End, currently in second place in C class. And there you see Wits End on the left side of our picture, just as How Sweet It Is, too, past Wits End. There you see Wits End behind How Sweet It Is, too. How Sweet It Is, too, is the final boat now that we will be covering, and very shortly we will be compiling the final results of this 1993 Virginia